Hey everybody, my name is Meredith, and I am host of Get Real with Meredith. And we are talking today about kind of purpose. What do you do when God calls you? What it's like, I guess, kind of being, chasing after God with what He is having you do. And I think there's a lot of people that think about this, whether you're 20 or whether you're 50 and you're like, wait a minute, I just had 10 kids. What do I want to do? So I think it's an important topic to cover. And my friend Megan here, Megan Steen, is going to be in town, and she reached out to me to get together. And I was like, well, wait a minute, we got to do a podcast because she's an amazing woman and doing so many cool things. And I know I'm not the only one that wanted to hear this. There were a couple people like, yes, I want to hear more about Megan. So she's only here for a few weeks from Kenya, and you're going to hear more about it, but she's pretty amazing. And I think part of the reason we connect is we both kind of are trying to carry out that, call God's given to our lives. And so I will let her kind of share where they are, what they're doing, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So Meg Steen, some people in the community call me Meg Murphy, either one. So my husband is Jonathan Steen, and we met in medical school, and I think God intentionally put us at the same medical school. That's a fun story, but along the way, we knew we wanted to do mission work. We both went into medicine to reach people, to maybe bring the gospel places it wasn't, or to teach, or to, somehow reach people through mission work. So along the way, God has brought us, 4 kids, and we did short-term trips to Kenya to kind of investigate. We went to Sierra Leone and a couple other places, and we just really felt our hearts kind of pulled to Africa and pulled to Kenya, mostly because we fell into a teaching role where we want to create programs that teach, raise up good Christian doctors in Africa. It's work, but it's also a calling that makes it, God's work. And when it's God's work, the load is light. So that's our passion. Both of us, John teaches in the family medicine residency program, a training program, and then I teach and started a OB residency program. And our first graduate is this December. So
no way.
I'm excited about that. Yeah.
And these
exciting. Are, amazing young men and women who, frankly, once you download all the medicine into their heads and invest in them, pray for them over the course of their training, they will do it better than I can.
That's
far.
Amazing.
So, and then our goal is to work ourselves out of a job, basically, and then kind of see where God leads us next. But right now he's leading us to Kenya to run these programs, to teach these programs, to raise up good Christian physicians through the, through the, people telling them it's not worth it. People, through a lot of things. We've become really close to the residents. We've become almost like family, and just kind of walk them through what God has for their journey, and teach them medicine, teach them how to connect with patients on a spiritual level.
I love that. So you're really you're teaching them the medicine, but you're also really discipling them, and that's something that people could probably use in the States.
Yeah. That's not lost on me. I definitely think that there's plenty of mission fields stateside. But we've been given kind of a skill set and a heart for Africa that just, keeps us going back there.
Yeah, that's amazing. We were just talking about kind of the 50,000 foot level view, I guess, that World Gospel Mission, which is the ministry that they are, I guess, assigned with.
Yeah, a sending organization, the organization that mobilizes us.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And you were kind of talking about their current vision. I kind of liked, why don't you share that with us?
Yeah, so it's really, a tendency when you get so focused. A lot of, especially medical missionaries are type A. They've been driven their whole lives, and they get very siloed and focused on what I need to do next, what I need for my ministry. There's a lot of just containment and lack of looking up, looking around you and saying, oh, well, how can I be praying for the pediatric department? Yep. Because OB can make pediatric problems quite quickly. So, I need to work hand in hand with that department. I need to pray for those who are doing outreach, pray for those who are in children's ministry at the church where we go. So it's a way of looking up and looking around and saying, who is God trying to use in my life that I am not seeing?
Yes.
If you focus on only your mission and vision, you will lose the opportunities. You'll, not catch the things that God's trying to guide your way. And we're not creatures to do life in isolation.
Nope.
We are made to do ministry with each other. And so one of their visions is to, look around, look up what missionary could you be praying for in South America, across the continents? What missionary could you be, praying for in Japan? Like, they just want us to look up, look around, and see, okay, God has a bigger, bolder plan for this than just what's in front of you. And that's hard in the day-to-day, but I think it's worth casting.
Yep. Well, and I think sometimes we were talking about this, you get kind of focused. Like, I know I get focused on my vision with guiding God's daughters, and the Lord over the years has been like, but if it's about the women, you need to make it about the women. So he keeps bringing all these women in my life. So it's that kind of hard balance of, okay, who's in front of me and how do I keep the vision?
Mm-hmm.
That it's a cool thing, because it's just one of the other things that's proof that it's God. And the other thing is, if he's leading it, it can't be just you. You're always going to need more people doing it, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and that's what he does. So you did kind of talk about your what kind of sent you guys to Africa, what kind of drives your passion for Africa. So you could tell me a little more about it.
I think we really have a passion for teaching and guiding. These are kind of mentor-mentee relationships in training. Not only are you the attending surgeon that's teaching them to operate, but the really cool thing is watching them develop, not only in a skill set going from, I don't know how to do a C-section, to, wow, you just saved that mother's life.
Wow.
So guiding them through that, but then as they go through their training, also guiding them through, like, what does a godly marriage look like? How do you raise kids?
Yes.
How do you choose a job that reflects your following of God's call, not just the definition of success in your country? So, secular definitions of success, Africans kind of, they'll chase that and say, if I get to this, I'll be good. If I get to that, I'll be good.
Yep.
And so kind of letting go of those definitions and saying, okay, what do you feel called to do?
Yes.
What would be fulfillment? What would be, how do you see your day-to-day looking and, coming, to the end of your life and saying, I've run the race well,
Yes.
And that's hard for, a 20-year-old, 22, 20 year, you're watching them kind of, develop. I've watched, residents enter marriage and then have kids, and, watching the dynamic and how they make that a godly relationship, make their work godly. That's as much of a task or a portion of it as
so much
learning how to do the C-section. So that portion is really the heart of what a PAACS, a Pan-African Academy of Christian Surgeons residency does.
It's really very holistic. I mean, you're really treating the whole person, and we were just talking about kind of the factor of having kids, having a marriage while you do these things. And I think some people get into this kind of maybe box mentality, or what they think it should look like. And it's like, you think, well, I should have this, and this, and this should look like this. But it's like, what actually works? And everybody's looks different, and we were just talking, like, I mean, she just got on a plane, by herself from Africa, and, and her kids are at home with her husband. And it's like, and that's like, when every step I take with my ministry, it's like my husband's backing me, my daughter, so it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, don't compare.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Comparison only leads to discontent.
Exactly. It's the other one, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
You know, because like how long was your pursuit of your degree? 12
years.
12 years.
So 4 years undergrad, 4 years medical school,
Right.
4 years residency. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if someone is like, oh, I don't know how she does that, it's like you just can't let other people's idea of like if God's calling you to something and you're gonna have a marriage and you're gonna make it work and He's gonna help you through it, but it's like you gotta seek His will, you know.
Yeah, and there's different concepts of what a missionary family looks like, what the setup of that is. That is, changing a lot at this point. My partner, her husband by degree is an engineer, but he is a stay-at-home dad, and she does OB training full time. John and I split the week. We figure out how to. Okay, he's doing homeschool these days, and then I'm doing hospital, and then we switch, and we just figure out where that balance intersection of what those two roles are. And it's taken a lot of conversations with people in ministry, people in organizations to kind of say this dynamic is changing. This is not, the same dynamic it was, 20, 30 years ago. And I think if we enter it with a 360 view, with an open view, then we can have good conversations about how it's going to develop. How do you keep missions going? How do you keep people on the field not feeling like they're burnt out or not heard or not understood? So if you recognize how much it's changing, then you can adjust and adapt, and then you can keep following God.
Well, and you're both doctors, so I mean, how often does that happen in missionary work? You guys have
when we met, we thought it was the dumbest thing to date a classmate. We were like, don't date a classmate.
What are we doing?
Yeah, and God thought that was funny. So we've always had to kind of say we don't want latchkey kids, even in the U.S. We don't want, we have to figure out, okay, how much are you going to pursue right now? What are you feeling called to do? What am I feeling called to do? Even coming back to help the practice here, it was like, well, how does that feel? Does that, it's an opportunity to stay connected. It's an opportunity to help them out. And they've always been great supporters of our ministry there. So it's a discussion like, that's 2 weeks on your own, but it's what do you feel called to do? Where are you at right now? Kind of a back and forth, a teamwork thing.
That was going to be my next one. You've really got to be a team. Like my daughter's always like, well, mom's the boss or dad's the boss. And we're like, we're kind of together. Like,
co-management.
We have different roles, but so speaking of the kids, let's talk for a minute about, because our story kind of intersects on the infertility stuff, and I wanted us to touch on it because we just did a podcast on it for the other week, and I think the really cool thing is that Megan has experienced it as well as a doctor in this very field, and she just shared with me some interesting stuff that I never would have imagined. So why don't you share that with us?
Female OBGYNs are much more likely to have fertility, to the order of like times 3, times 4 more likely to have infertility. And part of it is that 12 years. If you wait till training's done, then you're just starting older. That's just a fact of time, right? And time is, not your friend in fertility discussions. But when you're in that profession, it's not like, okay, a cousin got pregnant quicker than me, or it's your day. It's I'm seeing OB patients all day, and I'm seeing the ones who are like, oh man, this wasn't intended. And then you wonder why it's so much work for you, and the numbers, when it looks like a good pregnancy or not a good pregnancy. All of that is harder because what should go right, and it's not going right. And then you wonder why God put you in this profession where you encounter it every day, every minute. And so it's quite a journey for an OBGYN to struggle with infertility because it just, you can't escape it.
I'm curious, is it
it's
kind
in front
of
of you.
isolate? Like, does anybody talk about it? Like, is it kind
It's starting to.
Okay, good.
So it used to be residencies were very kind of malicious towards you if you were getting pregnant in residency.
Well,
They would say, like, don't do that, don't do that. Focus on training. If you want a career, focus on this. But they're evolving to say there's a like real consequence of waiting.
Yes.
And so should we adapt to the fact that, okay, this is a better time for pregnancy. It just is, you know, and having kids in residency, we had our first one senior year of residency, and it took some adjusting. It just took some, you know, leniency or, you know, they couldn't stick to that absolute schedule because that just breaks people. So they're starting to adjust to, you know, this has medical consequences. Let's develop family-friendly programs. Let's give options. Let's try to give appropriate times off work. I will still say that maternity leaves are not long enough for residents.
Wow.
But
How long?
Well, so you only get 4 weeks away from your senior year and then 6 weeks total away from any other year. So anything over that, you have to make up post-graduation.
Wow.
So I took 4 weeks off with our first son, and then he was sick for 2 days. So I literally made those 2 days up. So a decade later, I do see that programs are getting better about it. Even our policies in the residency that I run, it's like you can take what time you need with your infant and then you just extend. Like if it's past a certain amount, you extend. And it's not something to be shamed. It's not something to be like looked down upon because you had to go a little bit longer. I mean, it's just choices that, you know, if God leads you to start a family in the middle of residency, okay, you know, that's
part of it.
That's part of it. It's adjustable. It's, you know, you don't have to be on the same timeline as everyone else. You don't have to do it at the same pace as everyone else. And you can have a healthy, you know, way to do both.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I think it also kind of speaks to when people are like, well, I can't do this until I do this, and I can't do this. It's like, okay, well, you kind of have to consider.
Maybe God's telling you that, you know, that plan is.
It's okay to think about it a little earlier. Like, don't wait until this is all done. Yeah, it's. Well, I know even Lacey, who's, you know, in the PhD program for physical therapy, and, you know, I mean, they didn't even really start thinking about it until she started having pain, and then she's like, "Oh, I guess I can't wait until I'm done," you know. So, but one of my thoughts with her sharing that is, you don't think when you're going to your OB appointment that maybe your doctor could be struggling with infertility. And I think it's something very important to like consider. Like,
it's really common for OBs. Yeah,
isn't that interesting? So one of the things since we're talking about purpose and calling, whatever. I wanted to kind of get into that, but go over kind of the, I guess, kind of tips for those kind of not tips, but like those trying to figure it out. So one of the things I thought was like, I think this is kind of understood with this, but you've got to let the Lord guide you, because if it's only your flesh, if it's only you, like, I want to do this, I have to do this, I have to, like, you're so focused on whether it's the degree or it's the, you know, you're not letting the Lord in, you know, you're trusting you, not the Lord. So I don't know if you had any extra thoughts on that.
I think the thing with missions is that you think you're getting on a plane to do X, and then the Lord says, well, here's why, here's all these other things. And you don't, if you don't expect those surprises, you know, then you're kind of set in your ways and you say, no, but I'm going to do this over here, and you miss those opportunities. So any like hold hard and fast goal, you know, you got to kind of hold loosely, which is hard to do when you're passionate. When you're passionate about something, you know, for me, I'm like a freight train. Like, I'm just moving. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to make this happen. And then, you know, you get this pause, or you get this, this did not go the way you expected. You know, we were told by the Kenya government, go ahead and start your program. And then they have an election, and there's a whole different set of people who
Oh,
came
jeez.
to do our site visit. And they said, "Why did you start?" Because those guys, and we had names, we had emails, we had all kinds of, documentation that they said, "Go ahead and start."
Oh,
The
no.
new administration said, no, they don't get any credit for this. So our residents
Oh.
literally had to start over. And that was so discouraging. They
Oh.
all thought that, this was, just so demeaning. And so, and it was frustrating to us because we said we thought we did everything right. Like, I thought I had checked all the boxes. Like, I was making this happen, and now you're telling me thanks, but no thanks. I mean, it just pulls at your heartstrings. It pulls at your, just my inner mama bear to be like, no, they've done 3 years worth of work.
It was 3 years?
Yeah, so my fourth year is now my first year in the government program. And he will, he's done his years with us, and then he'll check off the other years with the, concurrent program. And at some point you're like 2026, they'll start in both programs at the same time. And it's taken a lot of wrestling to be like, did we totally fail these kids? Did we just not do it? Was it about relationships? Was it interpersonal? Was it, when we started these conversations, it was COVID. So all of it was on, Zoom and stuff. And so did people just not understand? We were starting the program. I don't know. It was so many things.
So sorry.
And, God said, you just have to be real with them. You just have to,
exactly.
At some point we had a residency meeting, and we just kind of grieved it and cried about it and apologized and said, I don't know. I thought we had done things the right way, and it just didn't work out that way. And it's not, dismissive, but I do think that there is a good thing from this. Okay, let's get laparoscopic equipment. Let's teach you that. We have more time to do, this or that, and really invest in you. So it's not a lost time. They were feeling at first like, oh man, I'm just going to do everything over again. I said, no, what do you love? Okay, research. Let's give you opportunities in research. Or, okay, I want to learn laparoscopy. Great. Let's get the equipment. Let's teach you. So, using those years that they feel like they have been a resident forever, a trainee forever, to invest in what they feel called to do with the training. So,
wow.
Discouraging, but also, all right, let's build something out of this, because that was a big hit to have them start over.
What a kind of testament to you as leaders to just kind of be real about it.
We just cried. We were just I'm really I don't know.
Well, and but it's so funny. Those are the things sometimes where that it's God's like, I'm totally shifting direction, and time is relative. It means I got time figured out.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, I don't care if it's been 3 years, we're gonna do it this way. And I that is, I really get that. You think it's like when you're stuck in a valley for, you're like, wait a minute, I was just coming out. Now you're gonna put me back in there.
Put me back in. Yeah, it was the typical missionary family arrives first term. You have all these wins. You have all these oh, this is great. And then home assignment back, and second term was a lot of losses, a lot of lessons, a lot of oof, what is and it's taken a lot of okay, what do we need for us to stay, to keep following God's call, and what does it look like now? I still want Kenyans to be able to do what we're doing, and so what I'm doing right now is modeling what they will do. And I felt like I couldn't just be the distanced program directors well, that's what the government said. Oh, well. No. I felt like this program needs to be different. This program needs to love them. They're God's children, and I want them to see that that's when they're a program director, that's how they do it. That they walk through, trials with you, and walk through, what are your aspirations? What do you want to do? How do you want to
Yep.
feel called? Do you need time for your family? How do you, have those run in parallel? For the Bible study that we do with the residents, we always kind of say, your training and your spiritual journey are two parallel rails
Yep.
of a train, and you cannot run it without one or the other rail, because you'll just crash. So we say, okay, which rail is failing? Which,
Mm-hmm.
if you're academically struggling, how do we shift your focus? If you're spiritually struggling, how do we shift so that they're both strong? And this was a big rattle to that, academic training piece,
Yeah.
that like, oh, now that is a longer journey. But yeah, I think that the ones who have stuck with us, we did have two that, I don't know that they left over that, but certainly that struggle was really real for them. And then the ones that have stuck with it, I feel like they have a renewed commitment that God is showing us the other side of it, kind of
In a different way.
slowly. Yeah, we say pole pole, which just means slowly. Like it's not a light bulb. It's just.
It's not instant.
Yeah, it's just kind of like little hints that
It's kind of that this, and that's the next point. Kind of goes what we're saying is the surrender.
Yeah.
Like those, you're gonna have big moments where he's like, and no, where you're like, okay, it's all yours, but it's like you always have to just be kind of like surrendering it to him, and especially in those moments where he's like,
other way.
Okay, yes,
Redirect.
got it. I know I have to stay surrendered to you. And I think sometimes like it's like that control, like you were saying, like I'm the same way, like driven, like let's get it done.
Get it done.
Like, and we're not always in control, especially like government. And I've been in government, so I know. I can't even imagine what it's like in Kenya, but it can be a little scary.
Yeah.
And so there were two verses that made me think, Isaiah 55, 8-9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. I mean, and then Jeremiah 32:17, NLT. O sovereign Lord, you made the heavens and earth by your strong hand and powerful arm. Nothing is too hard for you. Yeah. And I think it's when stuff gets really hard for us, we have to remember, like, it's not It's not hard for him. I think there's a worship song out right now called like Easy. Like to you it's easy. Yeah. To us it's
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of relationships. It's a lot of trying to figure out, okay, how do I run this in a a reflection of him?
Yes.
How do I do this as a reflection of him? And that's it's.
But it's that piece of as a reflection of him. It's like you always have him as like he's always in your he's like it's like our glasses. Like he's in there with us. It's not just we may be laser focused, but we're trying to be obedient to him. So one of the things when I messaged her about doing this, we were kind of going back and forth on what we could talk about, and she pointed out something that I think is so important for us to touch on. Being called and carrying out that call are two very different things, and I think it's kind of what we've been talking about. But I do it's so like he will give you the vision, but it is like a maze. So I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, it's not going to be straightforward. When I first landed in Kenya, we usually do a January start, to residencies, and I got there in April. So that's a great opportunity, to be with your teammates, kind of make some plans and stuff. And then the government said all of the interns had to have like a psychiatry course, that became part of and they just say make it happen, it's not. And so
do you have to create it?
Yeah, you have to create the curriculum, you have to create the content, they just say they have to learn this now. And you're like, okay, well, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm an OB. I don't, but it just seemed like, okay, this is a task that God's giving me to try and create this. And so I, created a curriculum. I got a bunch of U.S. psychiatrists to help me. They recorded lectures and stuff, and content, and really answered some good questions. I got to know like what are the deficits in this country, like how do you even get someone to certain therapies, what therapies are available, how much do they see as spiritual culturally, how much do they see as a chemical problem. All the dynamics of that were really interesting to figure out as a physician, but again, not my specialty. So I felt incompetent. Like as a physician, I felt incompetent to be setting this up, but God was like, no, you're not incompetent to me. Just do it. Just figure it out. And it was a good like mini model for the OB program, because as much as I am, an expert in obstetrics and gynecology, I do not know how things work there. Yep. How do my residents feel about how we're running things? And I did tell them, like, you're the first two. You're going to be, an experiment. I don't know. The only thing I can promise you is that I pray about this daily, and I'm trying to follow his lead in this. That's what I can promise you. Can I promise you that I'm going to always make the right choices, or, accountability measures are going to be what you expect or don't expect? I can write a 300 question exam, and I don't know. Like, I think that should show whether you know things or not. Maybe you'll think it's too hard. Maybe I'll think it's too easy, or vice versa. I'm going to make some mistakes. Yes. And this team, the only thing that we can promise you as your professors or your counselors or your mentors is that we are praying about it and following his lead. So
I love that. That's and I think that's inspiring for leaders that might be listening. I mean, like, because I know as I was doing my training with mentor leaders for Guiding God's Daughters last year, like it's like they kind of, when you're a leader, people look to you as a leader, and it's like, but leaders are people.
Yeah.
And if we have to be seeking the Lord always. For operating under him, we always have to be seeking Lord. And I think it kind of speaks to also your identity in Christ. Like the world is so all about purpose and follow your heart or whatever, but it's really, you got to find Jesus so he can show you what, like, let me tell you who you are in me, and then you're going to see who I made you to be. Yeah. And I even think I think the identity stuff speaks to infertility. Like, I want a baby now. Well, find your identity in him. Like, I would love, for my whole vision to just be played out right there. No, I don't, but I don't. It's like, I feel like
I'm going to make some mistakes.
Exactly.
I need people to know that I am human. Human.
Yeah. Well, especially you as a physician, it's like people kind of see you guys as always put together. No, I mean, you're intimidating, I guess, because you have knowledge I don't have.
Yeah, I think
it's I don't know.
Come back to the fact that you're just trying to do all the same things.
Exactly. Exactly. God gave you gifts, and you're just trying to do them, and skills and education, and you're just doing what he called you to do. As you were saying this, when she was, I don't know, when you first got over there, I was leading a Bible study, and she was kind of sending me, prayer kind of for different women that were going through things, and some of them were just heart-wrenching, but also some of them are beautiful. And I don't know if you can share any stories, if you're allowed to or not, but I would love for people to hear, I don't know, one or two testimonies of what the Lord's done to help with women, or what they've overcome, or
I have a really incredible training one that just, I think it was a long haul encouragement from God, and it took it was like 12 years in the making to see this side of it. So our very first trip over there, I was a brand new doctor, but I was like, I know I want to do missions. Let's get our feet wet. Let's go over and help. And so I went over, and there was a intern. Her name was Val, and she didn't know how to do C-section yet. She was just starting her training. Super, bubbly, fun, energetic. And I just really enjoyed working with her. And I didn't really think twice about it. I was like, oh, I had some great interns. I taught them how to do some C-sections and stuff. And then I go back 2 years later, and now she's a general surgery resident at Tenwek. And I say, hey, you're doing residency. That's great. And she's like, yeah, I am drowning. Like, she is just struggling, second, third year stuff. Like, oh, do I start a family? Do I not start a family? And I said, let me just, let me pray for you. Because I did not know anything about being in a general surgery program or running a program. I hadn't even thought about being at Tenwek to run a program yet. And so I said, let me just pray for you. And she said, great. 2 years later, go back again, and she's, a senior and pretty confident in her skills. And I did a surgery with her, and I was like, oh my goodness, you're operating circles around me now. Like, you are an incredible surgeon, just objectively watching her operate, watching her control the bleeding for this patient that had a liver problem, just bleeding everywhere. Watching her operate on the other side of the table from me in a colleague sense was really incredible to watch her go. And just I'm like, wow, I was in awe of the training program that they could get her to that point. I was in awe of her skills, just like, wow, this is incredible. And then 2 years later, again, we go for 9 months to kind of help Tenwek a bit more. And she wants to start a residency program herself. So she's at a hospital about an hour and a half from Tenwek. And, she went to them and said, I'm a surgeon. I want to be at this place because this is where my family is. I want to be here. And they said, we can't afford to pay you. We can't afford to pay you. And she's like, just let me get started. And I feel like God has called me there. Just let me get started, and we'll see what happens, in terms of whether you can afford me or not. If the patients come, then okay, then you will be able to. And so their surgical volume tripled. And she said, hey, how about, can I have a partner? And so she took another grad from Tenwek.
Wow.
So in the end, there's these 3 graduates from Tenwek who are now running their own general surgery program. And that was our first second generation program. And I just feel so privileged to have been there when she started and kind of watched the really rocky years. I was there at one point when she was having a miscarriage, and so I helped her kind of be the patient, which is a really hard thing for us to do. Doctors are terrible patients. So just walking her through that, and this has been a relationship that I've had for the last decade.
Oh, that's just amazing.
God says, I'm gonna show you that I have a long haul plan, and that long haul plan, and that that memory of how that decade went, and how there's a second generation program because of it, really in the tough start over in the tough spots in our program where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is not going to work. The same people who started general surgery are still there. And they said, yeah, we felt the same way a decade ago. And look at what God's done with it. Oh, so that
is so cool.
He had this long haul, this thing that took 10 years to show me, because I didn't think anything of it the first time I taught her how to do a C-section. I didn't think anything of it. I just taught her. And then to look at what she's done with that teaching, with all the things that people have invested in her, with all of the, encouragement, mentors, everything she's had along the way, to look at what she's doing for the community now is incredible. And so when I'm in my residency program and I'm like, this is not working, Lord, should I just go somewhere else? Should I do something else?
Yeah.
That story reminds me, but it was 10 years in the making of that story. So I don't think I would have been ready to start a residency program off the bat, because he had to show me that it's possible to deal with the really difficult times. Wow. So yeah. And
that's so cool. What a great
That's the encouragement.
Story.
That's the when it feels like it's not possible. okay, it is possible.
Yes.
It's shown that this works. This grants us good Christian doctors in Africa, and it's worth the investment.
Yeah. And just that you got to see her like performing the surgery, I'm sure that gave you chills.
Yeah. She's an incredible surgeon. She is.
And then and then God's like, I'm not done yet. I'm gonna come back and you're gonna see what she's gonna do. And it just proves that his plan is so much bigger than ours. And it's never gonna impact just one. It all folds into, I even talk about people with like timing when they want, and I'm like, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't get to pick.
No, and it's like in God's time. Like it's not always just, we want things in our time, but he's like, this all factors into what I'm doing in the world, what I'm doing in your community, It's like, you're one factor, it's very humbling, but I love that in just like that everyday walking it out, and then later he's like, watch this.
Yeah, this is bigger than you think. This is more important than you think. This is going to have implications for you later, and you just don't see it yet. You don't know it yet. So,
I love that. That's so awesome. Okay, so I have, this is not a random question, I'm sure, because I know people are going to want to know this too, because I know I've asked you, what's it like living in Africa?
The kids are outside constantly. It's like a 1960s childhood. You just
it's kind of cool though.
Muddy pants, less of the cliques, because there's not that many kids. There's like 38 kids. That's a lot for a mission compound, but you don't have these big classes. The way they go to school is different. They do go to boarding school as of high school to kind of like spread their wings and kind of, figure out those dynamics. But it just, for kids, it feels like a different kind of childhood, which I actually really, really like. My dad was really focused on, when we come to visit, what am I going to eat? And so like for almost a year, my oldest took pictures of things that my dad would eat. He was like, look, Dad, there's Oreos in Nairobi. Look, Dad, there's KFC. Look, Dad, we had
too funny
Thanksgiving dinner with mashed potatoes and like the normal things that you have at Thanksgiving dinner, because missionaries are really good at cooking that stuff. So and we bring like packages of ranch in our suitcases, so there's definitely things that we ask for. We have visitors come, the top things for my kids are like Lucky Charms and Pop-Tarts, because that doesn't exist. And so, those little treats and stuff, but it's not it doesn't become a focus. Like the latest, greatest thing doesn't become a focus. And
because it's not always it's like a treat.
It's not always there. So it becomes special. It becomes something, Junk Food Friday. We only have the like stuff visitors bring on Fridays, because you can't have it every day. It'll be gone.
Yeah. How cool.
It's some things are easier, like a dual physician household. Trying to get dinner on the table would be like one of those really tough points. But we have a wonderful cook, and that is the way that she puts her kids through school, to kind of give them the next step, to give them the one up, and I don't have to make dinner.
That's amazing. And she probably loves to serve you guys.
Yeah. And we have someone who helps watch our kids and do laundry. You should not feel sorry for me. It's not, there's a lot of things that are so much easier logistically, and, it's an opportunity to invest in people. Our Florence, our house helper, I love her children. Like I say, what do you want me to bring back for them? Like, what can I, how can we pray for them? How can we be lifting them up? So it becomes not a nanny, but more of a family, more an investment. And she's like my go-to person when I culturally don't know what to do.
Oh, I bet.
Like, hey,
here's my situation.
Can I wear pants to church now? Or, do I have to wear a long skirt? Or like, I'm going to go do this outreach. What do I wear? It's just simple, straightforward questions like, hey, I feel like I didn't connect with this person, or it didn't really work. Do you think why? Like, she just becomes a really great resource for those things, to try and not have cultural barriers or to
That's good.
understand, to be able to get past that, to connect
Yeah.
and, know how to kind of navigate those things.
Interesting. So I remember you telling me a story last time about like driving. And like, I don't know if you were driving a safari or something. What were you doing? Some story. You have some story about like driving through.
Oh, Joe likes to say that I hit a giraffe. All of my children say I hit a giraffe, and I did not actually hit the giraffe. So we borrowed this van from this other family, and Google Maps does not work in Kenya. Just don't even try. But like the generation that John and I have, we don't do directions just by like, and we didn't have a map in the car anyway because it's not our car. And so we just tried to get there by whatever Google was telling us to do, and we ended up at like a watering hole with some hippos. And we were quite distressed because we're like, it's afternoon, we got to get there before dark. We were trying to get to a like safari resort. And the owner of this van said, yeah, you can take it to this area, no problem. You can take it there. I was like, it's a little rough on a van. Like, really? And so we were lost. We were just not where we were supposed to be. Luckily, I was able to call the resort owner and be like, this is what I see. And I'm like describing the hippo pond and the trees over there. I'm like, how is he going to know where I am? This is not like you can say, I see a 7-Eleven, I see a,
Yeah, no.
This is like,
it's not.
But he knew where I was, and he was like, oh, go this way. And so I found like a game drive road, like the thing that the safari vehicles use. And he said, take that, yep. And I was so focused on not getting this van stuck in the mud, because I'm like, if we get stuck here, like, we're here to see lions and here to see, like, I can't get stuck
this is
here
not going to be good.
with like 18-month-old twins that are little cheetah snacks. Like, I can't get stuck here, And so I was so focused on not getting the van stuck. And there was like this down, up, pretty steep down, up. And I was just like, all right, I'm gonna get through this mud. And so on the upside of it, once I had cleared the bumper, I like floored it to get out. On the other side of the hill, like as soon as I crested it, there was this giraffe standing right there. And the front of a highest van has this like flat, there's no front end. You're sitting on the engine. So I slam on the brakes, and to the children in the back seat, they were like, you hit it! You hit the giraffe! They're like yelling at me for hitting. I was like, I didn't. Look, it's walking away. Like, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. Like, and they're like, get out and check. I'm like, it's walking.
Moving.
Like, it's fine. I didn't hit it. And Joe was like, I think you bumped it. I was like, I didn't bump it. So this has become like a running joke. Whenever I'm driving and there's any animal within like a few meters, they're like, don't hit it. Don't hit it. guys. And we once saw a giraffe like limping for some other reason.
Geez. There's your giraffe, Mom.
Exactly. There's the one you hit, Mom. And I was like, I did not. He even like when we, spoke at Summit, he was like, yeah, my mom hit a giraffe. And I was like, I'm not gonna like. But those are the stories my kids have. Like, that's what they like to tell people.
But like, you're like, my brain is like Lion King. Like, oh yeah, there's a hippo pond. Like, we're stuck at this hippo pond.
We're at this hippo pond. Can you get us out of here? I mean, I'm thankful for technology and cell phones, because I don't know, we might have been sleeping in that van.
Oh yeah, it could have been. What did you say? A cheetah snacks.
Yeah, we have gone on several safaris where, that's what Micah and Cora say to each other. Like, we go up to the cheetahs, we're looking at them. Aren't they, Micah said, you're a cheetah snack. No, you're a cheetah snack.
Oh, how cute is that?
Funny conversations, from kids that live in Africa.
Exactly. Like that's why I wanted you to say it, because I think that is it's so interesting.
It's just different.
Very different.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you one more question, but before I do that, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your short time here to do this, and I know it's going to bless people. But I do want to ask, for those who may be interested, because I know people that have a heart for helping those that are serving others. How, if someone is, wants to, help you guys, how can people help? I will let you share that.
Yeah, definitely. So I love to be able to send, prayer requests to people. Kind of, sometimes it's related to what your ministry is.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can you pray for my kids?
Yep.
That's a big one I send to Ellen and to other, children's ministry
Yeah.
people. I'm like, hey, they're struggling with this or that. It just kind of helps feel connected to to people. A lot of the medical people who support us here in prayer, I'll send cases to them and say, hey, pray that this lady gets out of the ICU, pray that we have enough blood for this lady. We just send kind of intense, a lot of the tough women scenario prayer requests I send to you. Hey, this lady
is a big one.
Is pregnant with twins. She just lost her husband. Like those kind of things. Like it makes you feel like you're not alone in it, that you're not doing this in a vacuum, that you've got people all over the world praying about this, and it just feels like your load is lighter. And that's probably the biggest help. If I send things to Summit, so if you want to be part of the prayer team there, that's incredible help. We have to have finances to stay there. We don't make physician salaries at all, so we're part of World Gospel Mission. So if you search for Steen, Steen, on World Gospel Mission site, you'll find our what projects are we doing? How can you help us stay there? Because that is a step taken in faith. You can't muscle that. That is got to be God. It's got to be God leading people to support you. That is, a trust fall for sure. I'm not going to earn this. I'm going to bank on people feeling called to keep us there. And so that's a big piece as well. So and I love We're happy to share stories in person or not, and just let people know, it's a big trust fall, but I think, serving in inner city ministry here or any women's ministry, anything is going to be, I'm willing to be outside my comfort zone. I'm willing to push this envelope for you, Lord, and let you take it. And I think it's one of the things I love about mission medicine. Like you have a lot of loss, you have a lot of lack of resources, but if you approach it with, I'm going to do my best and let God work out the rest, then, that mentality works well. Yeah.
And I think it's really, it's that kind of what you said, asking people to pray so you don't feel as a bigger burden. Somebody, I think there's something when someone's like, oh, I could send money to, any mission in any part of the world. But I think when people hear the story or they hear the stories of the family, I think they may feel it makes it more personal. So if you feel called, I will put the link anywhere you can find it when we post when we post this podcast. But I go for it and
or if you want to visit.
I really
there's always things to do, whether you're medical or not. Like I will find some things that will connect you with people that will show you what God's work is and see how you can be a part of it. And
I do really want to visit. I've told her this 3 times.
It's not a bad plane ride. It really
How long is it? Like 20?
I mean, this time I did 10 and a half from Chicago to Istanbul and then 6 from Istanbul to Nairobi. So it's usually stopover in Europe somewhere and then Europe down. And each of them are about 8 hours. But
well, at least it's split in half. It's not.
If you did it straight from New York, it's 14. So that's but then it's only one leg. I've never done that with the kids. I've always said let's do the stopover. I've never committed to the New York to Nairobi one with the kids just because, and the break is kind of nice. And all travel ends eventually, even with 18-month-old twins. All travel will end.
Very true.
The plane cannot stay in the air forever. You will eventually.
You are not going to be living in the air. And you're going to land.
You will eventually get off the plane. So just all things end.
Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
I loved hearing all these.
Fun.
Good to see you in person.
Yes.
Too. Father, I pray just that you continue to bless Megan and her family in Kenya and everyone they reach, and just keep providing for them. And I pray for whoever feels called to help these guys out financially or just pray for them. I pray that they just follow your leading, Lord, and we just love you, Lord. We thank you so much for Megan's presence here. In Jesus' name. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good one. That was great. out.